Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing good. It's Wednesday. We're going to go over the Zoom for today. So we are going over our last poem in our iReady books. It's lesson 10, and it's going to be on page 156. So if you want to go ahead and get your iReady books, you can go ahead and get those. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And it's going to look like this. Oh, it's going to look like that. And it says the path that leads to home. And we're going to go ahead and read over that poem, and then we're going to read another poem, and we're going to compare those two poems and talk about the theme of the poem. So the poem is actually a lyric poem, and you can see this one has 40 lines in it, so it's a pretty long poem. I'm going to go ahead and read that to you, and then I'm going to read you the next poem, and then we're going to talk about those two poems. So the little path that leads to home, that is the road for me. I know no finer path to roam, with finer sights to see. With thoroughfares the world is lined, that lead to wonders new. But he who treads them leaves behind the tender things and true. Oh, north and south and east and west, the crowded roadways go, and sweating brow and weary breast are all they seem to know. And mad for pleasure, some are beat, and some are seeking fame, and some are sick with discontent, and some are bruised and lame. Across the world, the gleaming steel holds out its lure for men. No one finds his comfort real till he comes home again. And charter lanes now line the sea for weary hearts to roam. But oh, the finest path to me is that which leads to home. 'Tis there I come to laughing eyes and find a welcome true. 'Tis there all care behind me lies and joy is ever new. And oh, when every day is done upon the little street, a pair of rosy youngsters run to me with flying feet. The world with myriad paths is lined, but one alone for me. One little road where I may find the charms I want to see. Through thoroughfares majestic call the multitude to roam. I would not leave to know them all, the path that leads to home. So we talked a little bit about this poem and how the author is talking a lot about home and where the path leads to. And remember, when we're doing lyric poems or any kind of poem really, the author uses his thoughts and feelings to give you what the theme of the poem is or the meaning of the poem. So now we're going to go ahead and turn the page and we're going to read the next poem. The next poem is called Landscape. You can see it's a much shorter poem. And Landscape is only 14 lines. So I'm going to go ahead and read that one to you, and then we're going to compare the two and answer the questions on the following page. So what will you find at the edge of the world? A footprint, a feather, desert sand swirled, a tree of ice, a rain of stars, or a junkyard of cars? What will there be at the rim of the earth? A mollusk, a mammal, a new creature's birth, eternal sunrise, immortal sleep, or cars piled up in a rusty heap? So we also talked about the two words that are on the side that says words to know. So eternal and immortal. And this morning we talked about eternal being like forever. So when it says eternal sunrise, so like a forever sunrise, or immortal means when you don't die. So immortal means you live forever. So an immortal sleep would mean something forever, like a forever sleep. Okay, so if you look at the next page, you can see it says read lines 13 and 14 from the path that leads to home. So it says, and mad for pleasure, some are bent, and some are seeking fame. So which word or phrase best states the meaning of bent as it is used here? So we have A, badly crooked or curved, B, strong, willing to try, C, dishonest, or D, moved out of line. So you're looking for what best describes those two lines that are above. So the answer would be B, strongly willing to try. So the word they were looking for is the meaning of the word bent. So for most of you, when you think of bent, you think of something that's bent. You know, if you bent a straw or something like that. But in this one, they're saying, and mad for pleasure, some are bent and some are seeking fame. So this is strongly willing to try. That's what it means in this sentence. So if we look at number 2, they show a table and there's some themes, and we talked about throughout the this lesson 10 about all these poems and how sometimes they could have more than one theme. So if you look at the table, it gives you 4 themes and some lines that go along with the themes. So this is from the first poem that we read. So we have the first theme is traveling away from home is a waste of time. And the lines they got that from was, I know no finer path to roam with finer sights to see. The next one is, the world is full of exciting places to visit. And the lines are, and sweating brow and weary breast are all they seem to know. The next one is, nothing is more pleasing than being home with family. And the lines they liked with that one was, across the world the gleaming steel holds out its lure for man. And the last one is, it is only by leaving home that we learn to love it. And the lines that go with it is, but no one finds his comfort real till he comes home again. So in the bottom, it says, write the theme that best describes the poem and the lines that best support the theme. So the theme we thought best described the poem was, nothing is more pleasing than being home with family. And the lines that we thought best went with that theme was, I know no finer path to roam with finer sights to see. Okay, so if you need to pause this to finish writing that, you can. And we're going to go ahead and turn the page to page 160. On page 160, it's asking you which statement best describes the speaker's message about travel on the world's thoroughfares in the path that leads to home. So if we look back at the poem, it says on the bottom, though thoroughfares majestic call the multitude to roam, I would not leave to know them all the path that leads to home. So which statement would best go with that? Would it be A, the world offers wonderful sights, but not what is most important? B, some travel only because they are searching for pleasure or for fame? C, many must leave their homes because they are all ill or injured? Or D, weary people can find happiness by traveling across the sea? Now remember, we talked about this poem and how a lot of the poem was about being home. So what would be the answer for that one? A, the world offers wonderful sights, but not what is most important. Then it also says, read the following line from Landscape, which is poem number 2. What will you find at the edge of the world? Identify the statement that best describes other lines in the stanza. So if you go back and you look at that stanza, which was the first one, it says, what will you find at the edge of the world? A footprint, a feather, desert sand swirled, a tree of ice, a rain of stars, or a junkyard of cars. So which statement would best describe the other lines in this stanza? The world offers only piles of rusty junkyard cars. B, the world has contrasting climates from cold to hot and dry. C, the world is full of natural beauty, but there's also ugliness. or D, the world will be left with a footprint made by a single person? So the answer for that one would be C. The world is full of natural beauty, but there is also ugliness. Because you read in there a footprint, a feather, but then it also talks about junkyard cars, right? So it talks about things that could be beautiful, but then also things that can be left behind that aren't that beautiful. So number 5 says, which statement best expresses the theme of the poem Landscape? So we're talking about landscape, which is the second poem. So is it A, the ends of the earth are worth visiting, but might hold some unusual surprises? B, the natural wonders of the world might be spoiled by the choices people make? C, going out into the world opens up new opportunities for people to better their lives? Or D, traveling to faraway places brings adventures or excitement? So the answer for that one is B. The natural wonders of the world might be spoiled by the choices people make. This morning we were talking about how pollution and things that are left like garbage and recycling is better than leaving garbage. It's better to recycle. So we talked about how those things sometimes spoil the earth by the choices that people make, right? The more you recycle, if you can, the better it is for the earth, or the less you drive, the better it is also for the earth. Okay, so let's look at number 6, which is a short response on the following page, page 161. And that one says, what is the theme in the path that leads to home? So that's poem number 1. Think about what the speaker values in life and use details from the poem to support your answer. So remember again, we talked about how he's talking about home and how it's important to be home, or it's important to him to be home. So for us, we came up with this morning, the poet's theme is that home and family are more valuable than a life elsewhere. He writes, home is where I come to laughing eyes and find a welcome true. So if you can see there where we put I come to laughing eyes and find a welcome true, we put that in quotation marks. We always want to use quotation marks if we use a quote that comes right out of anything, a poet's poem, if it comes out of a story. So make sure you have those quotation marks in there too. If you need to pause this to write, go ahead and pause it. If not, we're going to look down at the learning target. So the learning target says, in this lesson, you use details to determine the theme of the poem. Now describe how the skill helped you to develop a deeper understanding of poems. So this morning we I used the poet's feelings and words to develop a deeper understanding. And we've talked about that all week, about how if you use the words and the feelings from the poem, then we can find a deeper understanding. If you remember from yesterday, we had the poem, The House on the Side of the Road, and we used the details. What's the poem mostly about? What's the life lesson that the author's trying to tell you in the poem? And what's the thoughts and feelings that were shared? And then we took all 3 of those together to come up with the theme. So when you're reading something, even if it's not a poem, even if it's just a short story or just a summary of something, you want to make sure you're looking at all 3 of those things. What's the author trying to tell you? Is he trying to teach you something? And then what's the thoughts and feelings that he's sharing with you in the poem or story? Okay, so that's all for today. Tomorrow we're going to be starting a new lesson. It's going to be lesson 13. So we're going to start that tomorrow. So hopefully I see you guys in the morning. Okay, have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.